not going to be taken, which is the whole point.
And where did you find it all from, sir?
I sent Kate Jasmine all the. Okay. I sent her all the details stuff I'd ordered. She's got all
I don't know what.
Did you just ask if you had pockets? No, I said what pockets are.
Good evening, everyone. Before I hand over to the chair of tonight's meeting, I remind everyone here in the room we are now live streaming. We politely request all participants wait until being invited to speak by the chair. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Once invited to speak, please preface your contribution by stating your name. This will help the mics lock in on the primary speaker and thereby maximise the sound quality for those watching at home. If you're watching at home and wish to participate in tonight's meeting, please turn your video on. If you're just observing, please turn your video off. Unless actively speaking, all those watching the meeting via Teams should have their mics muted. Members of the public are reminded that public participation is for questions only. Comments, suggestions or representations may be made at the discretion of the chair of the meeting. In case of a fire evacuation, the fire point is the marketplace. For this evening, there will be no fire drills. I hand you over to tonight's chair, Councillor Raby.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Welcome to Monday, the 16th of February's full council meeting. Apologies if I spend a lot of evening blowing my nose, but I've got a stinking cold at the moment. Item 1 is to receive any apologies for absence, please.
Councillor Cleary and Councillor Whitlock.
Thank you. Item 2 is any declarations of interest. Thank you very much. Item 3 is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting held on Monday, the 2nd of February.
It says on them that the questions that I raised, some of them from the Cartwright family, they're not directly from the Cartwright family. They are questions that they've asked me over time and I've then formulated them all together. I'm happy if they go in as questions from the Cartwright family, but I don't know if we need clarification on it.
So what you can do, if you want to have a clarification, we can put it in these minutes.
Yeah.
You know.
That would be good. I just don't want anybody to think that they were direct questions that the family have asked.
Okay, do I have any more? In that case, then can I ask for a proposer, please? Thank you, Gillian, and have a second, please. Thank you, Mav. All in favour? Thank you. Item 4 is for participation. We don't have anybody in the. Oh, sorry, Jim. Well, Andrew's fixing the screen. Go for it.
Okay.
Now you'd like to say happy birthday.
Not just yet. Thank you very much, Joe McCann. I've never come to this bit. Joe McCann, Melksham News. I wanted to start by asking the council whether its civility and respect pledge also branches out to members of the public and the press. The council signed the civility and respect pledge.
In terms of how the council treats
Yes,
members of the public.
they treat members of the public in the same way that they treat each other and with respect, etc. Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, the civility and respect pledge is about how the code of conduct in terms of being an elected member or being an officer in the council should be.
It's recently come to my knowledge that within this council building, there is a punch bag with my face cut out and stuck to it with the words "punch me" written at the bottom of the punch bag. I have a photo of it. And I'd like the council's response to that.
I think I'm going to gather by the faces in the room, councillors, that never seen it.
Seen anything like that?
Okay, to provide evidence further that it's in this building.
Do you have an explanation, please, from officers at the table? Because
It doesn't say punch me.
It does. It says "punch me" here. I can read it right there.
No, sorry, that's part of the actual punchable. It's a bad joke, Joe. I apologise unreservedly.
Can you explain why it's funny?
It's a bad joke.
Yeah, I'd like you to explain what the joke was, because no one shared it with me. Ergo, it must be an internal joke. This council has asked repeatedly about its relationship with the Melksham News. When it comes to stuff like this, what was this new staff that you have in at this council? This is what they see when they come in, is a picture of the guy from the Melksham News, let's say, with his head sellotaped to a punch bag. This is the message that's being sent to the council staff. The flip side of this The council was previously asked why I wouldn't send my reporters to this council. This is me, when that was taken was 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, maybe, that picture in there. But if that was my 25-year-old female reporter or a 21-year-old female reporter or a young reporter who's 18 and just got into the role,
So
how would they feel?
anybody, I don't care age, sex, gender, whatever, this is not acceptable.
Yeah,
And you have every right to be furious. I think probably the reaction on the table will show you that everybody else sat here is equally shocked. I didn't know this existed.
No.
And I'm actually lost for words at the moment as to what to say on this. And this will be a matter that I will want to have a meeting tomorrow regarding this with all concerned, because this is not acceptable behaviour from employees or officers of this council. And I will make that happen. I'm going on holiday on Wednesday, but I will make sure I take time out of work tomorrow to have this conversation, because that's not okay by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm incredibly sorry that that's happened. And I'm sure I speak for all of us here, but just me personally as well. This is not okay.
thank you.
Just, can I just confirm, because I don't know where that is. Is that in public, is that in view of any staff?
It's in my office.
So of any staff member?
Of staff, yes, if they came into the office. And I said again, I fully accept it's a misjudged joke, which I apologise. I take full responsibility, and yes, I want to make it clear that no other member of staff was involved in it.
But they knew.
If they come into the office, they've been there, but nobody was involved in it.
I am floored by this, Joe. I'm really sorry that you had to come to a public meeting and say this. I'm floored. I'm really quite struggling to know what to say right now, mainly because I've spent so much time in this building trying to repair the relationship between this councilwoman. No, I know it's not just me, but I'm talking about me personally. I have personally taken time out of my work day, time out of councillor work, time before and after work. I just don't know how we repair this relationship if we're going to have these sorts of things. It's not, I'm very sorry, Jane, that's all I can say. For me, again, me personally, obviously we can't talk on behalf of the council.
Right, let me just look at my diary tomorrow. Right, I'll be into the town at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, please.
Thank you very much.
You are aware the clock is on leave.
Pardon?
Aware the clock is on leave.
Are you actually away tomorrow?
Yes.
I'm not. We'll catch up after this meeting, because I'm not happy to leave this until you're back. Things can be spoken about you. Right, do we have any members of the public for public participation online, please? The bombshells.
Nobody's asked then.
Okay, in that case, then I will move on to item 5, which is questions from councillors. Do I have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Hello.
6, which is town mayor's announcements.
Was that noise just then? Someone online?
Noise.
Hello.
There is.
Somebody.
Oh, it's Mark.
Oh, Mark,
Sorry.
sorry, did you want to do something to public participation?
Yes.
Okay, I'll rewind back up to item 4.
Just a quickie. There were 2 items on the CCTV report for action. I know one of them is being actioned, but I just wondered what was happening about the upgrade to the wireless network. That may come under a later item on this agenda, but I might not be around for that. So I just thought I'd pop in quick and ask the question.
Yeah, so hi Mark. Hi Mark. In terms of the wireless network, that is conversations that we're having with Smart Integrated Services at the moment, and the council are looking at the overall whole picture of the CCTV to ensure it's right. The position that we're currently in is about the procurement for the cars, and then the Wi-Fi is what we'll be looking at next.
Okay. No, that's fine. Thank you very much. That was all I wanted to know.
Thank you. So I go back to item 6, Town Mayor's announcements. Just a very brief one. Myself and Andrew held the first of the Meet Your Councillors events in the Assembly Hall between 10 and 12 on Saturday, which actually went down really well. We had 7 residents turn up with a variety of Town Council and Wiltshire Council issues, which myself, Andrew, and the relevant ward councillors for Wiltshire have been informed of and are taking action on bits. But to be fair, it was on the whole very positive, which was nice as well. There were issues raised, but they were all issues which were valid, and yeah, certainly things that we can help to try and do things with. So we just encourage fellow councillors, please, to get involved, and also please, member of the public, please come along. I think those who did come along actually found it was really helpful to sit and have a sit down chat with a cup of coffee and a cake. It was cake, which did go down very well.
Do we have the next date? Because I know there was only that one.
Waiting for councillors to come back to us, and the committee will start arranging.
Because I mean, I've had dates to that you come back and said that I can do any date.
It was also rather gratifying that in addition to a few sort of not so much grumbles and complaints but queries, we also had a few compliments and people saying that they thought we were doing a reasonably good job before.
Right, going to move on now then to item 7, which is reports from unitary councillors. And as I promised last time, I'm going to go backwards this time just to shake it up a bit, because obviously we always start with Phil. So this time I'm going to start with Jenny, then go to Charlie. John's away on holiday at the moment, and Andrew, and then to Phil.
Fun. I don't normally get to speak. Normally everyone said it before me. Obviously, I speak a lot, I'm not insane. So I think the big things are, people are probably aware, the budget is coming up next week. I'm sure it's going to be a fun day where we all have lots of joy, and I'm just trying to be as positive as possible about it. We have been told to put 2 days aside for it, because it might be quite a, I'm going to say difficult day, given that I'm aware that there are different political opinions in this room. I think the great thing that's come out of the council recently is we have announced that the Q3 deficit of 6.9 million has been closed with in-year actions, which means that the administration not only has closed the gap, they actually have a surplus of around 200k. There has been significant work that's been done to stabilise the council finances. That's mainly to do with understanding in-year finances and understanding kind of where each department actually currently are on their budget. However, obviously you have to remain very realistic around budgets. The vast majority of all Wiltshire Council budgets are statutory. And there's only a few things that we get to do that are outside the statutory remit. And obviously we have to make sure that the core responsibility of the council continues, that we don't in any way harm residents, and that we don't make sure that and that we make sure that all residents are being heard and that they get their needs met. I think the other big thing to talk about is the area board review. So I actually attended the meeting on the 20th of January when they discussed the changes to the area board. I was there with John. I was also there who is the chair of the area board. I was also there with a number of colleagues from across Wiltshire. I think the big thing to take from it is at the moment there is no proposal to change the funding to the area board, just how it is funded, not the actual sum that is being funded. The review mainly focuses around structure, around delivery, and around the potential alternative funding routes, not how much money is going to the budget. Huge consultations being taken place. It's involved the police, the fire and rescue. It's got town and parish councillors. It's got obviously area boards and Wiltshire Council senior leadership team. The feedback that we've had from that mainly has been around the fact that people like that there is a very local element to Wiltshire Council, that there's a big catalyst there for funding and for community action, and that actually lots of people see it as a valued forum. However, there have been some significant things that have come up from it. One has been that the meetings are too lengthy and too formal. They also have said that there's quite limited community participation. So I was talking about one meeting where around 60 people attended the meeting. It was a grant funding meeting and it was community groups all around. 3 people in the room got to choose whether or not those community groups got given funding. And I think that there's a big drive to try and get more of the community involved in the area board. I think that there's a want for more strategic alignment, and there's some more need around what that strategic alignment looks across Wiltshire and whether or not things are going to be formulated more across Wiltshire. We don't know. I think the big thing on it is that nothing is getting changed without overview and scrutiny. I think that's a really big thing to talk about, because this is an overview and scrutiny. For those of you who aren't aware, are everybody who looks at decisions and they feed back on it and they tell you whether or not what they think is good and what they think is not, essentially. But they really can form a really good sounding board for these sorts of things. One of the things that came up a lot was LHFIG. I'm actually going to let Andrew speak on that because he's the chair of LHFIG. But the things that were really heavily proposed around NHFIG were a lot to do with speed. But I think there's some really interesting things coming out of the area board changes. One of the things is to change its name. There is no set thing on what that name's going to be. One thing that was proposed was community area networks. We quite enjoyed it because it's spelled can, but there might be someone who comes up with a far better thing that they can be called. John had a wonderful time figuring out all the different job roles that could go with it. So like can do and lots of things. He was having a lovely time. I think that's kind of everything from me. I'm just well aware that, as I said, the budget is next week. I'm sure we're all in for a long haul. I'm sure it'll be lots of fun and very overwhelming at the same time, particularly to those of us who have never had the joy of sitting through a budget meeting at Wiltshire Council. There we go. That's my everything.
Thank you very much. Charlie?
So recently there was a government announcement, well, I say recently, last week actually, that about the SEND funding towards local government, local councils. Now, this is an issue that's been up and down the country to do with dedicated school grants, which is the money that comes from central government to help fund things like high needs blocks, schools, placements, and SEND services within school settings. Now, the government have said that they will write off approximately 90% of the SEND budget deficits across the country, which is good news for Wiltshire Council, because obviously had things continued the way they were going and the government were originally rumoured to actually pull all funding, it would have left a lot of councils in obviously quite a lot of deficit and some of them bankrupt. We were looking at a £106 million deficit within that. So the fact they're going to write off 90% of that is great news. It just allows us to obviously then have a little bit of breathing space in the services that we can deliver. It doesn't, however, change the modelling block for how schools and SEND schools are funded from the government. So we are still the 20th lowest funded in the country. So there is something called the F40 campaign, which Wiltshire Council are still part of. We have dedicated officers actually now part of that, along with John Hubbard, who is the Wiltshire Councillor on there as well, working alongside the F40 campaigners to obviously make that fairer funding throughout the country. That's my update.
Thank you, Charlie. Andrew, do you want to give us an update on LHFIG?
Just a comment on Charlie's. You said they're going to write off 90%.
They are
They're going to give us
the funding for it. Sorry, yes. I do apologise. Yes. Taking it from the Wiltshire Council brief.
LHFIG, couple of items which affect Melksham Town, Union Street. There's going to be a consultation on traffic management and parking issues on there, and that's going out in the next few weeks, I think, isn't it, Jen?
Yes.
Yep.
Sorry, I had to really think about when it was. Yeah. So Hayley and Martin will be discussing.
Yes. Yeah. And we've got some yellow lines and other parking control things going into place on Cranesville and Skylark, where all the various legal processes have gone through, and waiting for the weather to improve so they can get the man with his pot of yellow paint and get out.
Yes. I don't believe it is on Cranesbill though, because I thought that was, they'd said no to because they already had yellow lines there which weren't working, I think. I think it was definitely Skylark though.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Other items which have been sort of in the news, the household recycling centres. Tower Hill is operated by FCC Environment, and there's no plans for any changes in the arrangements there. There is a proposal for pre-booking of a visit to HRC sites, going out to some sort of consultation process. I've personally had several residents speak to me about this, and I don't believe that queuing is a problem on the Bower Hill location, and I'm against the principle of having pre-booking. I've had several residents say they don't have internet access or smartphones, and are unclear about what benefits it will actually bring. Following on from Jenny's comments earlier about the area boards, there's also a proposal to sort of realign the responsibility of parish stewards. And again, I'm not quite sure what the perceived benefit of this is expected to be. I know that's the service that the town gets from the parish stewards, and certainly the surrounding rural villages. Their input and contribution is very, very much appreciated. So I'm hoping that there won't be any effective changes to the benefits that we receive.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really much to add. Is that, I mean, there's a few things I think worth mentioning. I mean, within the proposed budget coming forward, the parish steward benefit, I think, from what I can see to the council, is the removal of £800,000 spend. So they're going to cut the parish steward programme by 800k and then redeploy them. So I think what we'll end up with will be a significantly different service to the one we get.
Can I just come in on that? Because that's not entirely true. They've changed the way it's being funded rather than it being cut.
Okay.
Just, I've got the note in front of me.
Yeah, no, okay, right. If
Just
that's
say that they're reworking it because the vast majority of the work that they do is on highways, and therefore it can come slightly differently.
okay. The emergency grant is being withdrawn as well within the current budget proposal. So that's things like gel sacks, salt for roads, emergency flooding signs, all of that stuff is being withdrawn as well. That funding support. There was a plan in place to withdraw the community funding for Link, but there's a U-turn on that. Likewise with the two HRCs that were earmarked for closure north of the county. As you've just heard, the emergency booking system is penciled in for Bower Hill. That's going to affect people locally. We'll see how that plays out. Another couple of things just to mention though, the transport funding for 16 to 18 year olds with EHCPs is being consulted on with a view to removing that. At the moment, students between the age of post 16, so students who go on to college or stay on to A levels or stay on at the sixth form with an EHCP, their transport is funded by the local authority. As I said, that's being consulted on with a view to removing that. So that will reduce expenditure. I mean, that scheme at the moment costs 2.1 million. And that's for things like taxis for children with autism, EHCPs. So that's going to be withdrawn, and we'll see what that looks like and how that plays out. I mean, to be fair, Jenny did mention the Q3 report. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to read the Q3 financial update from Wiltshire Council with the surplus, but I think we've omitted to mention that there was a significant overspend in departments, and that's been filled with reserves. So over 4 million was taken out of reserves to fill those budget overspends, and there was also a one-off VAT refund which was used as well, redeployed into those. So there's been no internal work from the department to look at how they're spending money. So that means that whilst that money from reserves has been dropped in Q3, there's no actual changes in terms of how the money and how those departments are working in that respect. So it's also expected that there's going to be an extra 16 million of demand next year that's currently unmet within the existing budgets. So, I mean, I know we're going into sort of quite technical discussions about it, but that then will, you know, unless you see significant restructure in those departments within adult and children's services, that latent demand will continue to exist and the budgets aren't being moved up. So that Q3 report with the budget being balanced is actually over 4 million from reserves has been taken out and dropped into the budgets to increase all budgets so that they appear to be, but they're still significant overspend. However, the demand is still there and that's rolling on. I mean, there are things. I think Charlie mentioned the fact that the government is stepping in basically fund 90% of the what was our significant deficit that was accumulating. Whether we're working on the basis, I think probably we can capitalise the other 10%. We'll see how that looks. But there is also a significant reserve that's been built up over the years to pay back that deficit at the end through the safety valve programme. So we'll see what that expenditure on that. But there's several million, I think it's several tens of millions now sat in the safety valve reserves, used for presumably for SEN, special educational needs funding, but we'll see what that turns into. We haven't got the conditions on that as far as I know.
You have to wait until the white paper comes out as well to see what that looks like, which again,
hopefully the government
delayed. It's meant to be, was meant to be this week, meant to be now in the next couple of weeks. Who
Wait.
knows? It's been 8 months. Sorry, just to go back on what you were saying about the SEN transport, just not so that we're not creating a panic for parents. Obviously, it is done by a case-by-case scenario.
Yeah, it gives you
Not just flat out get rid of all SEN transport. It is part of the case-by-case scenario, and it is also part of actually the transitioning for independent living, because obviously not that service isn't going to be there once they hit 25, and we need to start helping those who can and want to transition into being able to do things such as travel, which is quite an important part of life, independently.
Thank you, Charlie. Okay, in that case, I'm going to move on to item 8, which is the East of Melksham Community Centre.
Okay, so in terms of the East of Melksham Community Centre, we've had a meeting with the SIL officer at Wiltshire Council to discuss the SIL funding that's available. We are going through the process of that with our financial officer manager here. We are keeping Melksham without informed of the position that we're currently in, and we will come back to council.
Do anybody have any questions on that? No? Okay, thank you very much. In that case, I'm moving on to item 9, which is policies, and the first one to look at is 9.1, which is the volunteering policy. Jenny, I will hand over to you because I know you've done.
I've got lots, so I don't know if anyone else wants to come in first.
Well, maybe if you go first, because I might cover off.
I don't want to take anybody else's voice away because I'm well aware how much I talk. Okay. So I think the first one is, I don't think we cover quite the scope of what the policy means. Is this for all volunteers? Is it for volunteers for just our events and activities? Is it volunteer for Assembly Hall? Is it volunteers for seasonal volunteers? We have nothing in there about expenses. Do we pay it? If we don't pay it, I think we should state we don't pay it if we don't pay it routinely, I think we need to make sure that that's well stated. We don't mention if there's ever a volunteer agreement that people might need to sign. If we don't have a volunteer agreement, I think we either need one or we need to state we don't have one. We don't have anything in there about commitment on time. And also what happens if a volunteer becomes inactive, as in if we have someone who volunteers with us regularly, what will we do what things will we put in place to help them? We obviously do cover off lots of health and safety, but the two things we don't cover is lone working and out of hours working. And I think given that a lot of what we do happens out of hours or might be lone working, particularly kind of at the Christmas event where you might be standing on a street by, that's like a street corner, and that would be awful, a street by yourself. Or yeah, and I think we also, given that sometimes our volunteers are put in quite contentious positions, what the protocol might be there. We don't have anything in there around conduct on social media, and whether they're going to have any access to social media in terms of our access. Because we have volunteers currently who may not have access to our social media, but are certainly posting with posts on their behalf. We don't have anything on there around safeguarding particularly. We've got about DBSs, but we don't kind of have any confirmation whether volunteers need to be DBS checked. I'm nearly there, I apologise. We don't have anything around harassment. We don't have anything around kind of dignity at work and things like that. And then the big one is we don't have anything around young volunteers. And given that we've talked lots about wanting a youth council, they will all be young volunteers. And whilst I appreciate they will be covered in other policies, and it's also not my area of expertise, which is why I'm looking in that direction, because you clearly know it far better than I do. I think we do need to have stuff around if we are going to have people under 18. Are we going to have people under 18? And if we are, what do we need from them, as in parental consent and things like that? Sorry, everyone. That's been free.
Fine. Before I hand over to Hayley, does anybody else have something above? Because Jenny has kind of, I think, very significantly covered off on that.
We'll take all of those points away.
I'll send them to you if you want.
Did you know it?
Yeah, don't look at the spelling, but yeah, I've got them. Okay. Thank you, Pat.
Just remembered when we do the litter picking, Terry Welch does write down who comes. She makes a list. That's about all I can remember. I don't know what she does with it.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. In that case, then I'm going to, obviously we're not in a position then to approve that. That will need to come back. Going on to 9.2, which is the freedom of information policy. Before I go to Jenny, do I have anybody else in the room who? Fair play to you, put a lot of work into looking at them. So we'll go to Jenny now. This one.
Okay, sorry again, everybody. So we've got a policy reference in there of 14 hours, at which point we would ask for money. However, there is a limit of £450 for local authorities that they can charge on FOIs, which actually means if you're going to calculate that at £25 an hour, it's 18 hours. So if it's over 18 hours. So I think we have to make sure that's changed to 18, because if we exceed those limits, actually they can take us to multiple courts. And I think it's really important that we have that right. We have no reference in there against vexatious or repeated requests. I think the ICO have very clear code of conduct around what constitutes a vexatious or repeated request. They are things like serial and repeated requests. That doesn't mean the same person asking different questions. I want to be very, very clear about that. That is about the same person asking the same question because they didn't get the answer that they wanted. Obviously, one of the things that's in there that's quite broad with the ICO is actually something that's unreasonable, but they do quite clearly drill down on what they deem to be unreasonable. The other part in there is you're supposed to have something in there about the duty to assist. So that's to do with helping to clarify requests and understand requests. We also don't have much in there about subject access requests and what the differences are. Are you planning on doing a separate thing for subject access requests?
Would have been to do a separate policy, however we can put it in this one.
I think just if we're going to do a separate one, I think we need to say in it that there is a separate sort of one for it, because they are obviously very, very different. For those of you who aren't aware, FOIs are to do with general information. Subject access requests are about information that's held about you personally. We do say that we want them in email. What we don't say is how you can't do it, because it isn't uncommon for things like this to come through Facebook and social media and things like that. And I think we have to say we will only reply to it in writing, in letter form or an email. One thing that it's thrown up to me is that we don't have a records retention policy, because obviously if you do have a records retention policy, if the FOI comes in and it goes over the record retention policy, that supersedes it, and therefore you can say we don't hold any records on this due to our record retention policy. I think it might be quite good to have one. We also don't have where FOIs might be reported to. So for how many FOIs we're getting, how quickly did we reply to them? I think it'd be a good idea to know which committee they'd go to. My logic would be either finance or this one. And then I think complex refusals is one that I've seen quite a lot of stuff around that in other policies that I've been looking at. And who signs off complex refusals? The reality being is it has to be the CEO, but again, I think it has to be written down. And again, I apologise everyone, I've just spoken a lot.
Does anybody else have anything to come in over and above what Jenny's told us?
I've got a question. How many FOIs did we get? Roughly.
Okay, I can tell you.
We are publishing this data now, aren't we?
We are indeed. Let me have a look. Councillor, sorry. So we have had so we have had 10 since December.
It's quite a few, isn't it?
So that information is all publicly available on our website.
Appreciate it's publicly available on our website. Is that just a number that's available, or do we?
So what we do is we put receive, we put the topic, and then we
know who it's come from.
Publish it.
we don't put who it's.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah,
That's fine.
you put if we provided the information
Yeah.
or not. And it only goes on there once it's completed.
With the fees and charges, I mean, we're not applying a cost for the first 14 hours. If something rolls over to 15, I mean, is there discretion on that, or would you just be expected to do it?
I think if I'm honest, if the policy states a certain amount of hours, I think it's we have to be consistent.
This is on an individual request.
Yes.
You made reference to document retention policy.
Yeah.
We've got one.
Oh, have we?
Yes.
Fair enough. My apologies. I looked for one, I couldn't find it. That tells you how good the search feature is.
Is it 7 years?
Curiosity.
24th November 2025.
I know.
How many years? What our retention policy is?
Sorry. Reached.
And I suppose there should be a link in the safeguarding policy, sorry, in the
FOI.
FOI to the retention of documents policy.
Various periods depending on what it is.
So it might need to be looked at.
Receipt book 6 years, invoices 6 years.
Yes, well, the standard is 7 years. So I mean, really, we should be looking at standardising that, and rather than having different timescales for different.
And also HMRC of
7, yeah.
Sorry, it does depend on what you're retaining and why. So if it's to do with personnel records or safeguarding, it's 25 years. So there are
That's
different
differently
thresholds.
isn't it? 'Cause that's covered
Procurement
different.
will be different as well.
Yeah, but that's a different, would sit under a different policy normally. So your retention, also like how we work, everything of ours that's to do with BMW would be 7 years. But obviously your personnel records would be different again, because that's not an issue.
Yeah, I mean, there's a variety of different periods within the retention policy. So that may well, although it was only approved in November of last year, if we're tying it in with the FOI policy, it might be worth reviewing to see whether there's anything which is not as appropriate as it should be.
Yeah. Do you have anything else on the FOI policy? There's a lot of points which obviously to go back and be looked at, particularly the 18 years, 18 years, 18 hours of work.
Yeah.
Are we happy when this comes back to full council? Another point. I mean, it's really important. We've got to get stuff really correct.
I mean, is it worth just adopting the policies for now and then allowing clerks to come back with supplementaries to add to them at a later stage, just so we've got some.
Do you want to propose that then, Phil?
Yeah, I'm happy to propose we accept policies as is, and then
With the amendments?
with the additional.
You happy to second that then, Jenny?
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favour then in that case? Thank you. Moving on to 9.3, financial regulations. Hopefully we'll have a chance to have a read through this and just try and make it a little bit sensible how we deal with procurement. Anybody wish to speak to this, please?
Thank you. It seems sensible and realistic. I quite like the recommendation where I'm not quite sure what the intent was. But, is that we should only be required to get 3 estimates for purchases of 5,000 and above. And I think to have a requirement to get 3 estimates for something that might only cost £100 or so seems a bit of an overburdensome requirement. So it makes sense to me as a reasonable adjustment to the current regulations.
Anybody else wish to speak to this before Bill?
Yeah, so no, I agree. I mean, to go out for get 3 estimates for something that's not very much isn't necessary, is it? But the recommendation is the revised threshold to state the requirement to obtain 3 estimates only applies to purchases above 5,000. But can we just make it clear though that if it's felt appropriate to go out and test the market and have a little look around, because 5,000, if you're going to spend £4,500 on some service, it still might be worth exploring the market rather than just going out and getting, do you know what I mean? So maybe it's appropriate. It's just so it's not excluded.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to reword it slightly. I mean, all officers, I would say, understand that we need to be looking for best value all the time and testing the market. We've got to be looking at best price all the time. But in terms of every £100, that was it just wasn't practical.
Yeah, but where it's sort of 4.5, it might make more sense if you're bringing someone in to do some work for the council to go up and say, look, we'll get a few quotes, but just give it flexibility for me.
Just a comment, I might have lost it in this, it might be on a different thing, but just on that comment, always looking for best price. Slightly disagree, not to a great extent, but so disagree that it isn't just always on best price. If there's a local supplier here in Melksham, and it's an extra value. Yeah. As long as we just make sure we got the wording right. So if it's an extra £150 here in Melksham, but it doesn't hit the threshold for the 3 quotes. So if we could just make sure, and if we actually said it in here, but I said it does say value, if we can ensure we are, where possible, if we have 3 quotes, even if we have something where we always have at least 1 from Melksham, if that's something we can actually amend and change it in here, that within where there'll be 3 quotes, there will always at least be 1 from Melksham, where possible. Where possible. If we're doing something, they might not have a company here.
Sadly, we don't have anybody like fixing splash pads. It's just around.
I mean, I was going to go with Sky. I'm happy to say where possible, but I think it would be good if we get to have that amendment to here to have it written down. That I think we can talk as a council that we are looking at.
Okay, Jenny.
I do vaguely recall us discussing the fact that if it was major infrastructure as well, it would always require 3 quotes, which I know it's unlikely that anything major would be under £5,000. But I just think having it in there does help us as well to
think it certainly does.
Yeah. For clarification, it would be helpful if it was absolutely clear whether the 5,000 is inclusive of VAT or exclusive. I'm not arguing one way or the other, but £5,000.
No, I think it should be excluding VAT because
we don't pay it.
5,000 plus VAT is 6,000.
We don't pay VAT.
So I think it needs to be 5,000 ex VAT. Adrian?
I am quite concerned about this 30,000 K level actually, and making absolutely certain that major infrastructure changes in Melksham do, regardless of costings, need to come with 3 estimates, 3 written estimates that come to council. Because I think that would have solved a huge amount of problems that happened 2 years ago, because that didn't happen, and we know where it landed us. And I think we have to cover ourselves and cover our residents to get best value by having something written along major infrastructure changes.
Andrew?
Sorry, I've just spotted something else. The proposal is that it says to obtain 3 estimates applies only to purchases of 5,000 and above. Does that include the services rather than physical items? So
No,
if we're getting, I don't know, legal or architectural advice.
yeah, I mean, most of that would be procured anyway, because most of the contract stuff would have to be procured anyway to make sure any other works that you're doing, we would always get quotes for best value, but we can look at how we can word that slightly different if you want something in at the council.
Thank you.
Are we, hey, do you want to just read out the amendments that we've
So
made?
to ensure it says best value, where to seek 1 at least to be a Melksham supplier, make the 4,909 clear that it's excluding VAT, major infrastructure to always have 3 quotes and to come back to council, and contracts and services.
Can I suggest that all figures are excluding that, not just the 4,999 actually have
Yep.
the 100, the 4,999, 5 grand, all of them just XAT after.
Yep.
Are we happy to accept this with those amendments? Yep.
So this is for everything that you said.
That's literally my question.
I'm just thinking in terms of like, if this council is saying, right, okay, can you go and, I don't know, if the committee said, right, can you go and sort these parks out? If you, or something along those lines, I'm just thinking that you could just go out, if you're delegated authority, just go out, procure something and get it delivered and the service provided. I mean, if you're having to go out procurement every time, you will drag out activity.
Yes,
So I mean, I wonder
do.
if
So
there's,
the two
is there an exception where we can just delegate you authority to crack on with it rather than having to come back to us and drag stuff out for months on end?
I think the following is, I think you've got 2 thought processes on this. One is you've got to protect the council. One is actually the clerk also, your proper officer needs protecting in terms of ensuring that they've followed process and there's no ambiguity in terms of what the clerk can do and what the clerk can't do. To make sure that it's just consistent. There are transparency and procurement rules anyway that a council must adhere to. So if it's over 29,999, it has to go out and be procured anyway and appropriately. So when the parks come up, they will have to go through that process. I think what I would say, if we are doing the financial regs appropriately, making decisions as a council and being prepared, I hopefully would think that it's not going to delay. And sometimes the delay might be a good thing in terms of slowing down to make sure we're getting the process right.
Okay, but so this would exclude us from delegating responsibility, just saying, right, okay, you've got a budget of 20,000, go get on with it.
I mean, you've got your financial regulations, but you also have your budget. If it's outside of your budget and it's outside of your financial regulations, we'd have to follow the process.
Yeah,
And-
but if it's within budget,
If it's within budget, generally it would be for the clerk or the officers to go and get the quotes, bring them back to council and for council to approve over the 5,000.
but for general maintenance or something, you know, we've got 14 parks. I mean, you've got a budget, can't you just go out?
So if it's general,
And somebody comes back, I don't know, one of our assets people come back and says, right, okay, this swing's shot. Can we just go and replace the swing? It's going to cost, well, I don't know, a swing up £2 grand, I don't know what
Yeah.
the swing is. But then that would then require you to go off and then go through this whole rigmarole over several months before we can just go get a
Yeah.
swing.
No,
We're
it
not
would.
just say,
yeah, no, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't on that. So if we wanted to replace a swing because it was broken and it was under the £5,000 and it's within the allocated budget, officers can go and make sure that they've got best value and go and order and get it
Okay.
done.
All
So that generally
Okay.
doesn't delay it. It's more about bigger items that we get that right. So if we've got, you know, maintenance that needs doing in the building here and there's an allocated budget, it's for us to manage the income.
Well, that's why
expenditure.
you're just effectively delegated those
Yeah.
budgets. Off you go.
It's just for
Then you
anything
have to-
over 5,000.
Can I just ask a question? Because I'm just a bit confused. So I just want to make sure I've got this right. So 0 to 4999, we potentially don't need 3 quotes. From 5,000 to 30,000, we need 3 quotes, but it can be approved by just the chair and the clerk or the CEO. And then over 30,000, it has to come. That is what our financial regs say.
That can be your
Outside
financial
the budget. If it's within budget,
I don't. That's
No.
what
Yeah.
just authority, isn't it?
No. If it's, even if you've got the budget and it is over that threshold, it still comes back for council to approve. It is only if it's under the £5,000 that it would be for officers to go out and do the workers.
So does that mean the financial regs also need to be updated to remove that 5,000 to 30,000, allowing the CEO and the chair of the council to approve?
I think that would be a decision council wants to make. Normally, it would come back, unless it was an emergency, would come back to council to approve.
I was going to ask about the emergency situation because you couldn't have done that in the situation we had a couple of weeks ago with the min. It would have been, it would have been
The end of the building.
Oh, absolutely. So to have that in place, sorry.
Sorry, to finish, I just wanted to make it clear that the financial regulations as it stands, the one we're talking about changing, 5.9, there is a difference between 5.8, which is greater than £5,000, 3 quotes, and 5.9, which says try to obtain 3 estimates. So what it's saying is you can go online and see what, what people are charging, what people have been charged. It's the difference between estimates and quotes currently.
Well, it is and it isn't, because that's not quite what we're talking. What we're talking about is the actual bit between 5,000 and 30,000.
No, I think what Andrew's trying to say is the financial regulations, though, obviously what we're changing here.
Right, sorry.
So that our current financial regulations do explicitly say with values between 104,999, excluding VAT, the clerk or RFO shall try to obtain 3 estimates, which might include evidence of online prices or recent prices from regular suppliers.
So what we're trying to do is keep the rest as it is, bit less ambiguity in terms of try estimates, get rid of that one, and your threshold becomes the 499.
But we also need to be careful because we have some of these things including VAT and some of them excluding VAT. So contracts estimated to be over £30,000 including VAT. Obviously, that line, I don't know everybody else. I think if we're going to have excluding on everything else, that also needs to be.
It needs consistency.
Yeah, there's no consistency on that.
Right, that bit there is part of local government financial regulations and openness and transparency. So we can't just amend that. That's standardised. Okay, what you do is under that, you can amend.
I mean, I have no problems with what's written here with what everyone said. I'm just that there is just still a level of ambiguity for me personally between that 5,000 and that 30,000 figure of who is getting to say that you could, because like you said, actually we needed you to be able to just say go and do it.
So I think in terms of protecting the council and the officers and being able to not get work done, but protect our finances is in an emergency is for the chairs to agree that needs to be emergency spend. And I have to say, from having the experience, I think that process worked well. Otherwise, it's about taking those quotes, all that work back to the budget holder meeting for them to consider.
Can we explain, have we explained what happened with that? I can't remember because I wasn't at the last meeting, just because I want it well known that all 4 chairs would ask.
Yeah, so in terms of, we're a landlord for a tenant 31A, there was a significant leak within the roof that had done damage internally into our tenant's property, as well as the toilets that are adjacent and into the public toilets. So there needs to be some emergency spend because actually it was being held up by supporting poles. Our job was to go out and get quotes. Not only was it quotes and value, it was about who could do the work quickly. And therefore, it was a case of having a conversation with all the chairs to be in agreement that that work could proceed while we're in the process of proceeding with that work and getting that resolved for our tenant, alongside having to have conversations with our insurance about what we can and what we can't claim for, which the finance manager is going through the process.
Thank you. Right, okay, yeah, so back to this though.
Is
So
everybody clear? Or?
are we all okay with where we are now with this? Yeah. So with the amendments, obviously bringing in excluding VAT
Yeah.
pieces on that, the best value
Got it.
rather than price. Are we happy with something to impose?
I'm happy to propose it.
Have we got in there about where we can go in local?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so proposed by Adrian, do I have a seconder, please? Gillian or Tom, take whoever in favour. Thank you. It's Emily more sensible. Moving on to item 10, so 10.1, which is a motion from councillor Orford.
It's exciting, isn't it? So I put this forward, so I put this forward back in January. I was hoping to get in front of the full council when we met on the 2nd, but it wasn't urgent enough to qualify. So I don't know if you've had a chance to read the motion. I think it's reasonably straightforward, but we've got a massive budget and we haven't spent it really on the parks. Now, 2 parks now we've got north of the river. So the only 2 council-owned parks north of the river, which are Bunch Lane and Riverside, both of them are cordoned off. They're unusable. They're cordoned off. We had Dunch Lane. I mean, it's been a bit of a saga, really. So I've been emailing about Dunch Lane Park for ages. I think it was 8 months ago, 8, 9 months ago, back in whatever it was, April. I flagged it as a massive problem. And then the little girl fell over because it was no good, cut herself up, and then it was closed off. That park's been sort of derelict really for 8 months. The park in Riverside, again, it's derelict. I mean, we've got a strategy, but it's a bit slow in terms of producing any tangible outcomes. So we've got a situation where there's no council provision north of the river, and we've got a significant budget, 74,000 this year. That's not been spent really. I think it was 1,048 was spent at the last full council meeting. Since then, I think there's been a bit of money spent on a new swing, an access swing in King George V Park, but still no provision north of the river. The budget the year before, I think it was 10 for maintenance, and there was a further 25 put aside for replacing equipment as well. So we've had over the 2 years, there's £109,000. It's just not been spent. We spent less than 1% of it. Then we have rolling into next year, we just approved the council budget of, I think it was £100,000, but we've not spent £100,000 we just had. Anyway, long story short, these parks are absolutely useless. Can we agree to use this year's budget before we get to the end of the financial year, and then it goes into the general fund, into the general reserve? Can we just agree to use some of this budget replacing these 2 parks which don't work? Because my concern is we say no, we'll not do it. Then we wait for the strategy and something else and something else and something else. We get no agreement on parks until whatever, May, June. Then by the time we get to doing something and something's maybe replaced, we're rolling into the end of the year. We end up with a load of little kids who've missed another year of play parks. And the thing is, it's easy for us as well, I think, as councillors. And I know I don't. Most of you are younger than me now, because I'm knocking on a bit. But as a 48-year-old, 1 year, it's just day-to-day life, and it just rolls on. You get on with your job, and you do your job, and then a year later you're still doing it. But when you're a 3-year-old, that year without park, 18 months without park. You've gone from being 3 to being at primary school, and you've missed, and those parents have missed that time with a toddler, a 2-year-old to get to 4 or whatever. They've missed that time in a park, and I think we've got an opportunity to say about it. Let's just do it. It's essentially what I'm saying. can you agree to spend some money replacing these two parks from the existing budget? We approve it, then the clerk can go off.
Your own hand up.
Now, I'm going to come in on this because obviously I'm the fellow ward councillor for this ward. And actually, I was emailing quite a long time before
Yeah.
go Phil on Dunch Lane, Tom,
Well,
sure as mayor.
There was I as well. I was just flagging.
And sorry, can I-
As when the park
Just-
became cordoned off.
No, it was cordoned off much earlier than that. It was actually cordoned off when the swing was taken down.
Hmm. Oh, well,
Longer
there we
than
go.
8 months ago.
Even longer than 8
And
months, sure.
so, I mean, what I would say is, we have obviously gone out and it is now live. And in fact, I went out around my ward on Sunday to speak to residents with younger children about Dunch Lane and Riverside, encouraging people to fill out the survey that's live now. We have a strategy in place. We have a huge budget in place to take care of doing 4 play parks within the next financial year. There is no doubt, and there have been many councillors in this room, Jenny knows how I feel and others do about Dunch Lane and Riverside. They are the worst out of our entire estate,
Yeah, they have been for a while.
undoubtedly. And I am pretty certain that those are going to be 2 of the play areas which will be certainly top of the list that I will be pushing extremely hard to get, and encouraging residents to provide feedback to make sure they are, really are looked at very carefully. I absolutely get what you're saying, but for me, and I'll let anybody else come on this now, we've started off with a plan going forwards, talking to residents. This will happen very quickly. Our next assets meeting is sometime end of March, we're saying? Is that when we were?
You're closing your survey on the 31st of March.
Yeah.
And then the next meeting is about 2 weeks later.
It is, and we've got an email going to schools for them to pick up about us going in and doing school assemblies and talking to all the children as well.
And QR codes are going to be going out in the play areas as well, aren't they? For
Correct,
people
yeah.
to fill the survey out actually within the play area as well. I'll open for, that's my Jenny, then I'll go Andrew, then I'll go Charlie, then I'll go Tom, if that's okay. It's roughly.
As chair of facilities, can I finish off? Thank you.
Yes, you can. Right, yeah, I hope just remember the order, please.
Yeah, it's fine.
I've lost
Look,
it.
I have to say, I completely agree with you, Phil. I think Riverside and Dunch Lane are 2 of our worst parks. I mean, none of our parks are particularly good, with the exception of strangely the 3 in Forest. I take no credit for it. I think my concern is exactly what Safi said. I think it would be a disservice to put these 2 parks above every other park. We have residents across the town who are facilitated by parks. South has some truly terrible parks as well. And I think South and the residents of South deserve to have the same input as the residents of North get. I do want to be clear, I would push heavily for the 2 that are in North as well. I do think they're 2 that are really poorly served. They also don't have many council facilities there. They don't have the same level of access to other sort of parts of the town. I appreciate they've got the Green Bridge, which they can cross, but Dunch Lane's actually quite far away from the Green Bridge. So I'm not disputing that at all. I just think we've started a process and we have to finish that process. It would be unfair to our other residents to push 2 parks above it. It's almost predetermining the outcome of a consultation, and I don't think we can do that. I do I'll be honest, I'll take a little bit of umbrage to wanting to invest so much money in parks when you decided to take so much money out of parks in your own alternative budget.
I didn't know, did I?
But we took,
Maintain the budget for
50
parks.
grand. You didn't, you took out 50 grand on the budget.
Yeah.
But that's by the by.
Money we had.
That's by the by. I also and this is a genuine question for you, Phil, this isn't me trying to be whatever. I was in the NHFIG meeting last week and we were talking about Section 106 money for the George Ward Gardens housing. The housing and the highways officer did say, why didn't we go earlier to ask them if we could change it over to parks? And I just don't know if that was something you tried to do. That isn't me having a go. I'm genuinely interested if we ever tried to get the money from the Section 106 money changed. I know you were trying to do lots of stuff with highways there.
Every conversation I had with the highways officers was that the money was for highways. There was no discussion of whether it could be used in parks because it was I was told it was a legal agreement. There's no negotiation on it. It's exclusively for highway spend.
That's fine.
If we're now being told that can change, I mean, I couldn't make NHV, it's been moved to the daytime when I work.
And we did discuss that, and I think that's a very valid point. But I just think if that was something that I was then told, actually we could have requested this a year ago. Sadly, that money is probably going to get lost.
Can we try that?
No, well, Actually, I did raise it with Hayley, and Hayley has asked the question. So if we can, that would be amazing. Obviously, it would still be section 106 money, therefore it would have to go to Dunch Lane. But it's about £38,000, wasn't it?
Yes.
So it was a huge chunk of money. So I do think it's really important that we can try and see whether or not we're able to get that. I just want to make it clear that I will lobby hard for Riverside and Dunch Lane, but I will be clear that I don't think we can do it outside of the consultation. This consultation is only running till the end of March. It is, I think we said that at the annual town meeting in May, we have to have the priorities of which 4 parks are going forward, because I think it's really important that we don't wait and sit on this. I know, Tom, you really want to get Speedwell looked at as well. We were very avid on why we didn't want to do Speedwell last week. It's the same reasons for this. You have to be given the fair chance as well. We said no to yours. I don't think it's then fair that we say yes to Phil's.
Next on my list is so Andrew, then Charlie, and Tom, then Adrian.
Thank you. In principle, Phil, I have nothing against your proposal. It makes absolute sense. The only thing I would suggest, and maybe sort of take it as a friendly amendment, if you like, is that being realistic, even if we were to say yes now on the 16th of February, the chances of getting anything done and finished by the end of March, at the end of the financial year, is so slim, it's not even worth thinking about. What I would suggest is, if it's practical, that anything out of the current year's budget for replacement of play equipment that is not utilised in the current financial year is rolled over into an earmarked reserve and utilised in the next financial year.
What, for Dunch Lane and?
Well, for once, so rather than the 64,000 or whatever it is lost and goes into general reserves and gets used in various places, if anything that is unspent gets put into an earmarked reserve
For play.
utilisation on play areas in the next financial year, that would seem to be realistic and practical. And I think
No, I appreciate what you're saying.
I've got nothing in particular against Dunch Lane or against your proposal, as I said, but I think we have to be fair to the residents of the whole of Melksham, we have to at least wait until we've seen the outcome of this consultation process before we make a specific allocation of funds to any particular park.
Can I just come to this just very quickly on the Dunch Lane subject, because again, having extensive conversations with residents down there and change of profile of people who've been using those play areas, again, doing the consultation for me is really important, so we actually get to find out what people want down there, because Dunch Lane is huge. It's a really big piece of ground, and there's no way we're going to fill that entire area with young children's play equipment. So we need to be going in, if that does happen, and actually doing the right thing with the expanse of land that we have, rather than just scattergun approach to putting in some play equipment. Did you want to come in on Andrew's stuff, then I can go to Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, I think I did think, 73 or whatever would be to influence for the parks. And I know there's been talk about rolling this budget over into the parks anyway. I am slightly concerned. I think it's a good idea if we could put Dunch Lane and still accept Dunch Lane and Riverside as being priorities. I'd be quite happy with that. I think the problem with consultation is it runs the risk of where you have communities which have more residents. So Dunch Lane and Riverside, particularly, what you have is a different, perhaps demographic. You've got a smaller community, say, compared to Melksham South. So you'll have more people in Melksham South who may well raise Speedwell as a park of concern, or the one on Queensway. So, the problem with consultation, you have to accept that actually, because of the proportion of people living in different areas, that area has fewer residents. So it may well not go as, in terms of pure numerical.
Can we just clarify
No,
the consultation, Phil? Because the whole point of it is that North will get looked at, South will get looked at, Forest and East will get looked at together. So that actually you can't, so that essentially what you can't have is that everyone in South gets asked for, but North gets nothing. The whole point of it is we will always do one in North, one in South, potentially one in East and Forest. But they don't, well, you do have one.
But the issue you've got as well is with Forest, as we heard already, they were funded out of the pot from Wiltshire Council that came down, I think, probably from central government anyway. It was earmarked.
But that's why East.
Those communities, that's why Forest got what it did. Whereas there are other parts of our town which aren't provide that. So if you end up doing one in, each region, north, south, east, or whatever, central, then you end up with, some areas receiving lots of parks and others receiving fewer. But that's to the other point. Can I just come in on the money for the earmarked reserves? Because my understanding is I was looking at the financial report in January that came forward because we had the internal auditors report. And they mentioned in there that the general reserve, so there's a general reserve, isn't there, that we have for there's the general use for our day-to-day spend, and then there's reserve as well. And the reserve needs to be 3 months to spend. Now, with a new budget of 1.5 million, that means that 3 months of spend would need to be around 350,000, and we're significantly below that. My concern is we'll get to a point in which everything goes back into the general fund. It goes into that reserve. We just about get it to a point at which we might have 3 months worth of reserve next. And then we're going to be saying in whatever May, can we dip back into that reserve now to top up our main balance to do the parks? And that will take us below that 3 month threshold. So we'll be digging into reserves when we really should be keeping those for maintaining the council's financial buoyancy, really, and keeping the internal audits up and ensuring that we can meet our obligations. I mean, 3 months is the minimum as well. I mean, I know.
I'm just going to let Andrew just come back on this one point, and then I must go to Charlie because.
So yeah, I agree with your sentiments about the impact on the general reserve, which is why I specifically suggested that we carry this over in a reserve so that it only gets utilised on replacement play park equipment in the next financial year, and it doesn't get sucked into general reserve and used on other bits and pieces. Coming back to the consultation, it's a consultation, it's not an election. So the fact that one ward has more responses than another ward won't necessarily sway the council. It's a consultation, after which we as members, and in conjunction with officers, will take a decision about which play parks need the expenditure to be prioritised.
Will the consultation come back to full council, or is it just going to be dealt with by assets? Because not all of us sit on that committee, do we? And this is a whole council responsibility, isn't it? Because it affects all of us and all our communities. I mean, it's integral to what we do.
I mean, realistically, it should go back to assets to be discussed. That with, of course, the option, everybody has the option to visit, to come to meetings and present their case. I almost see this as a bit like a Dragon's Den scenario. Once you've done the consultation, put up the best argument for your play area. I don't know. I mean, that would be Adrian is going to sum up. I'm just going to go to Charlie. We'll come back on that, and then obviously Tom, you can wait name different parts. Charlie, then Tom, then we'll go to Adrian.
Let me try and get my words out. I do apologise. I am quite concerned that obviously these parks are cordoned off. Phil is absolutely right that actually, the summertime rolls very fast for a child and actually rolls over into suddenly, then no longer just a little child, they're a teenager and they've got still not nothing to do.
They grow up so fast, don't
they? They do, unfortunately. My concern, and I agree, we should have a plan. This should be plan led because, otherwise then we're just haphazardly doing things. But what if those two don't come up on that consultation as having been, the most important ones to do? Because actually, they are important to those children. I mean, I am a great believer that all our parks should be done. I know we don't have the money for that. I know that we do have to obviously be selective, but say those two aren't brought up as part of that selection process,
My question on
they're
this
still
is-
going to end up then being called not.
My response to that is what Andrew said. It's not an election. It's a consultation. So we still get. It's not an election, is it? It's
Not to say election, selection.
No, I know. I'm saying it's not an election. It's a consultation. So technically, it can all come back, and we can still choose to do different parts.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's up to us as members to go out and get those responses. If you want those parks, go and knock on doors.
Yes.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I've got no problems. I mean, not in the next 2 weeks, but I will do it. I'm happy to go. I'm happy to go and knock on doors for the parks that I want done and go and get them to respond to it. Around by Riverside has had a huge change of demographic over the last 5 years, where it used to be quite a lot of older people. More families have moved in there. Of course, we want those parks to be done. I think we have to remember that we've put a fair process in. We should follow a fair process. Because I'm saying this heavily, knowing that those are the two top parks that I have. Dunch Lane and Riverside are my two top parks. They are clearly the two that need to be done. So I'm with you, and I think we are allowed our voice as well in this consultation, and our voices do hold weight in that consultation. So we A, can fill it out ourselves, and B, when we discuss it, lobby for your park.
Yeah. Just to be clear, when the both parks aren't completely closed off, there's equipment closed off in both parks. There is some equipment over at Riverside. I know because we had a picture taken on the swing down there. That was the swing at Riverside we were sat on, and the slide is open. There are parts of Dunch Lane that shut off, but not all of it are shut off. So just to be clear, there is some equipment. No, there is some, don't get me wrong.
There's no equipment on Dunch Lane.
Yes, yeah, there is. Phil, I was down there yesterday. There is like
There's that little horsey thing, which I'm not sure anyone would put their child on, I'd like to point out.
Just be clear, it isn't. It's not complete. Tom, sorry, you've been waiting forever.
That is all right, don't you worry about that. I've been enjoying this actually. Been lovely, thank you. It has actually raised a different question, because I had a question that they got answered, and I raised another question with, by the sounds of it, we're going out and we're going to ask the residents, what kind of parks do you want? Here's a survey, etc., etc. It's going to come to the council, and then we've just kind of said, well, we already want to do these two parks, and I agree. I think we should just do the parks now, for example. But you've just said, I think you started it, Andrew. We'll look at the survey, and it may be that Dunch Lane or something isn't on that consultation. We can still do it, we can still vote to do it. Then kind of what's the point of the consultation? If we know the parts they're doing, I think nearly everyone here, no one here has said Riverside, Dunch Lane, or certainly at least Riverside don't need doing. What are we waiting for? Well, this is the kind of red tape that residents really don't like. And I understand, we've been in council for a long time. Red tape is a nightmare.
It's not red tape. I just want to be very clear.
Well,
the way that you.
Okay, if I can continue, please.
I just want to be very clear.
I would argue consultation normally wouldn't be red tape, but I think this consultation arguably is, if we've just said that the consultation come back and then we are going to arguably, well, we don't actually agree on that consultation, so we can vote for any park still. So I would argue, how powerful is this consultation if we're saying, well, they haven't put Riverside on there, but we still think Riverside's better.
How do you know they're not going to put Riverside on?
No, but we don't know. The point is we don't know. So if Riverside isn't on there, we won't update Riverside.
Tom,
No, but that's not how it works.
We are,
Isn't-
sorry, Jenny, we are coming up with things that we don't even know are going to happen yet. This is the consultations in progress at the moment. We are having replies back already. Really, as of today,
Today, because families are off, but we are getting responses. I think once we really go out and talk to the children in all the schools and really engage them in whether there's a draw, I think it's also understanding the equipment that the parents would like to see, because when actually goes to procure these parks to get the designs in, that hopefully we'll have designs that residents can vote on and councillors can be involved in, that actually we really understand the users and what the users
yeah, so with all due respect, Tom, you've got young kids, you understand what young kids like to play on. I don't.
Mhm.
Joe doesn't. Jack doesn't. So there was different experiences across the room. Charlie's girls are older. So by talking to residents and actually getting a feel for, as I say, because Dunch Lane is one, when every time I speak to people when I was down there yesterday, the biggest comment is it's a massive waste of space down there because it is so big. We could potentially, people have big ideas about doing different stuff. So let's hear what those different ideas are. I guess what you're saying though about what if, there all are what if scenarios.
If I can just finish,
And then I'm going
and then it'd be just a brief one. Again, I just want to reiterate the point that, again, there's no reason, if we're saying we're going to do one in each ward, there's no reason why we can't just say, well, let's at least do, like, we definitely know that one needs doing. Like, no matter what, we know that one needs doing. But there is a what if it doesn't come up in the consultation. And then there is a big question on this consultation if we're then saying, well, the consultation is going to come to us, and if we don't agree with the consultation, we can just override it. I know we can, but maybe we shouldn't. And I'm just wary of that and aware of the strength of the consultation. If we've just said now in the meeting, we can override it if we want. I'm not saying it's not right to do a consultation. We should be consulting our residents. But either do a consultation, keep it black and white, or let's put our own motion forward when we talk to residents ourselves. But I think muddying the two, it makes the consultation potentially quite weak. And I think it could be really strong.
to let Jen come back on that and then
Yeah.
I'll go through Jen and then to Charlie.
I do think you're being purposefully quite glib on that. I've got to be honest. I think you're purposefully trying to find fault with this consultation, if I'm being honest.
I was all for it, to be honest.
I think nobody at any point has said, will it completely ignore the consultation, have we? What we've said is we have the ability to have our own voice as well. We also talk to residents a lot. I would have said repetitively, I said it in last week's meeting, I've said it in this week's meeting, go and talk to your residents. That is our job as well. It's not just to sit around this council meeting. It is to go out and actually speak and engage with our residents. And I think it's really important that we do that we go to places and we actually speak to them and get them to engage with this consultation. Because I think you will find that people will pick the parks that we already know are the worst. Because we know they're the worst, so they know they're the worst. So I just think you're trying to be slightly purposely glib and a little bit obtuse about this. Because
I think you just summed it up. Like you've already said, we know what parks are going to come up. Let's do those parks then.
no, we
We don't know what parks are going to.
we do know. Tom, you are being
Okay, can
purposely
we-
glib
Jen,
about this.
What do you mean? Gonna
Please.
guys, please, Phil, can we all just stop a minute and just bring some civil behaviour back into the room a second between everybody, please? Adrian, because you've been waiting for ages, and then I'm going to go to Charlie.
Thanks. Well, I wanted to end it actually. I have to be honest as chair of facilities because I think it's really important that we had gone through a huge process through our policy day that we had and then through lots of budget meetings where what we were going to do with the parks was heavily discussed. There are 14 parks, 3 of them are in good condition. 11 of them are quite frankly embarrassingly poor. And they're embarrassingly poor because no money has been spent on them for the last 4 years. So we took a big decision. I put my neck on the line and I'll say this, I put my neck on the line to say that we are going to improve these parks. Within 3 weeks of that budget going through, which some people didn't vote for, that consultation was out there. It's a good consultation. It's not just about what park should be done first. It's about what do you want to do with your park? Phil, I go to Dunch Lane every day because I walk Jenny's dog in Shernhold. So I know it really, really well. And the thing that saddens me whenever I see Dunch Lane is not that field is that park hasn't got any play equipment in. It's that park is not linked to the other park. Because I believe, and it's not for me to make the decision, but I believe that if those 2 parks were opened up and you had a bicycle track between the 2 of them, you could then have something completely different in that large field. You have got a fantastic play area 5 meters away from a field, basically. You've also got a beautiful field across the road in Shernhold as well. Can I also remind people, we did no consultation on the dog park. Look where that got us. When you do where you get public consultation, thank you. Where you get public consultation, we will get good information. That good information is what will come back to us. And then we can complete the strategy. And we can do, remember, we're only saying 3 or 4 this year. There's going to be the same amount of money next year as well. But it's important that we actually speak to our residents on a particular and specific topic. Then coming back to us with our officers and maybe some play specialists, if that's what we decide that we want to do, if the council decide it. It happened within 3 weeks of the budget, because I am determined in a year's time, we are going to be proud of 3 or 4 of our parks. And I do think that it probably will be Riverside, and I do Spring Meadows as well. But there is another one in South, which is pretty ropey as well. I would say though that last week we did take £26,000 off the budget of Phil because for splash pad repairs and maintenance work. So that's come off and it's quite a large amount. Sorry?
Back in the King George V.
Well, yes, but it is going to the splash park, which I think every councillor around this table has asked that we make sure that the splash pad is fit for purpose for next year. It has to come out of somewhere. It's coming out of the playgrounds budget. It's inevitable. That's where it's going to come from. It couldn't come out of general reserve. That was what the last council did all the time. But you know, the policy day was a really important day, and it was about what did we want to do over the next 3.5 years. I appreciate some of you couldn't get to it. I understand that totally. But have you spoken to anybody about what happened at that day? I don't probably need replies. But please remember the 14 parks that have just been left to just fall apart in Melksham Town. They've had no investment, and we have put together a budget that will help to solve that problem over the next 3 years. It's not a 1-year project, it's a 3-year project. And I hope that those 14 parks will all be finished within those 3 years. It doesn't mean to say they're going to be play parks anymore. There are 2 of them are fields. What do we want to do with fields? Do we want to put play equipment in? Or do we actually want to put community orchards in? Or do we want to do something else, which is a different element of play? Play encompasses so much. And I think it's really important that we ask our residents what they think play means, what they want to see in the play areas. And I really find it quite offensive that it was said that it was red tape. It certainly is not red tape. It's the beginning of our strategy. Well, no, it's the middle part of our strategy. Actually, we've done the beginning. This is the middle. The end will be when we actually have some play areas delivered.
I'm now going to move this conversation on, please, and take this to a vote, because I think we've spent enough.
I get a chance to come in as the proposer of the motion.
Yes, you can, Phil, and then I will be taking it to the vote.
Yeah, that's okay.
Please try and keep it in.
Yeah, just say, look, I appreciate Andrew's suggested friendly amendment, but I'm not going to accept it because obviously it doesn't include specific reference to the 2 parks in question. I think the problem we have is we've willfully not spent £109,000 over the last sort of 2 years. It's like we've saved it all up and decided not to do anything for 2 years to say, oh, well, look, aren't we great now? We're doing something potentially next year. If we've been maintaining the parks properly in the first place, as a rolling programme should go, and the park should be maintained and replaced as part of it, then this wouldn't be an issue.
But
it is an issue. Hang on, dude. Wait. But we are where we are. It's very disappointed. I'd rather just get on and do it rather than kicking it into the long grass again.
To be fair, Phil, there are many of us in this room who were councillors last time round that can take equal amount of blame for not getting stuff done. And I will look at Jack, yourself, Tom, myself, Jenny, Andrew, Charlie, Pat, Adrienne. So I think bashing over and over again we did it last time round, there are plenty of us in the room who could have made that happen last time round. So I think we just need to, that argument is, we're all culpable for that happening. So I am going to take this to vote. So obviously we have a proposal and we have a seconder for Phil's motion for Riverside and Dunch Lane. So can I ask all those in favour of the motion from Councillor Alford?
Come on, guys. The Poet Society. Get down on that table.
Against? Abstentions? Okay, so that's not carried.
I really wish someone would stand at the table and said, "I'm captain, my captain," then though, because it really would have made me giggle.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to item 11 now, which is calendar meetings. I'm going to hand over to Jennifer second if I really do need a reason.
Oh, sorry, I was
Just going to read a few things about calendar meetings.
Sorry, sir, could you just confirm?
Okay, who voted against, please? Just for Andrews.
Oh, right.
So 4, 5.
So we're recording this, yeah?
No, you just Andrew, managed to count everybody's hands before they went down.
Thank you.
Thank you. Not all conflicts on that.
You have to call for that.
Yeah, you meant to ask that.
No, no, it's okay. Well, I just didn't know. I didn't ask that. I didn't.
I only counted 3, so it's good to check again.
I'll read 2 things.
okay. So item 11, calendar of meetings. Have we all had a look at the calendar? I invariably have things to say on this.
I don't think you had any work today. So there's
Me, not my boss, you can watch. Pardon?
Oh, we're all off till June.
No, this is be nice, wouldn't it? No, this is obviously for the next council year, so from June onwards. Anyone got anything to say? Tom?
Just a question, and it may be a very simple yes or no. Have we worked alongside Melksham about to see what, if we're going to clash any major meetings of them? Because that is something that happens.
Yes. We'll come in on this because we had lots of talk, there have been lots of discussions about this. You, do you want to comment on that? Do you want me to comment on it?
Well, I'm happy to. I think when it comes to our meetings, Tom, I think we need to see ourselves as 2 separate councils on this, because actually we've got to be, as Melksham Town Council, being able to deliver the work that we want to in the way that I think would be best for the council for the next years to ensure that we can achieve. And it's really hard to try and coordinate our meetings around another council's meetings. And then, you know, we do want to take into fact which council meetings, etc. So I really think on the meeting side of it, hopefully they will complement. But if not, I think we need to think about what's right for Melksham Town Council over the next year and how we can achieve. Last year, we did present a calendar that we felt was going to have the right process for the council meetings in terms of timings and reportings, and we changed the whole meeting calendar to fit Melksham without calendar. We'll try our best, and it didn't necessarily align in the way that we wanted to. So we've looked at ourselves as individuals for this year.
Okay.
Jack, for you next.
Yeah, hi. Picky thing. Well, you know, I like the picky thing. Operations. Is that assets and immunities? Yeah, because I actually like the name operations, but I could probably be brought up in the annual meeting. You know, we're discussing that. But
No.
yeah, I just wanted to clarify that's assets and immunities on the you know, for anyone else that's looking or
Is that a
watching.
process of elimination?
Let's do the same. Sorry.
It's actually amenities and facilities at the moment.
Oh yes.
Me one too.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have quite a lot on here, sorry. Grant meetings aren't on the schedule. We made a decision that they would be at 6 PM before ComDev. If you look at the ComDev agenda, I think it's really not right. You are asking us to give grants out on the 21st of December. I don't think 4 days before Christmas is a remotely appropriate time to be giving out grants. Given as lovely as it is to give out Christmas presents, I just think that we are going to ask that they get given very quickly. The likelihood being that people won't be in work. I don't think that's conducive to good working behaviour. I also note that the other community ComDev meeting is on the 31st September. Our 2 biggest events take place in November. We've got to have a meeting in October. We've made this mistake before. It means that no decisions can be made. I think we have to get the ComDev one right slightly around our events. We have 2 massive events there. We have to make sure that's right. Also, we have a full council meeting on the 26th of, I think it's the 26th of October. That's half term. I don't think it's fair to have them in half term. We have a lot of people on our committee. In fact, through a number of them work in schools. We have teachers, and their only time to be able to go on leave with their family is during half term. I think it's not fair to have a full council meeting during half term. Also, you know, I'm aware that parents have caring commitments. I just don't think it's right to have that during half term. They're all my points. Sorry, I know I've talked a lot.
Did you want to come back on?
Sorry, making notes. I can go away and have a look. What we've tried to do, and you'll probably notice, is to have more full council meetings so we can have a year of trying to get the workload in and have consistency of what weeks or what council meetings. So I can certainly go away and have a look at whether we can adapt it slightly to have consistency, but consistency was kind of where we were going. But I can go away and definitely look at December's.
Yeah.
We did look at putting ComDev in September because by the October all those events should be planned, ready to go. But I can have a look at
Even early
moving that.
October, I just think that we've been stuck before where we've needed decisions made and we've had to call meetings, and I just think that's possibly dangerous. I do note that the 27th of July as well will also be in the summer holidays, although it is the first week. So, you know.
Yeah, it's going to be impossible to.
I think you've got to be, so yeah, exactly. I just think half terms, people like to be away during October and February half terms. When I say some people, I mean me, but.
No, I would concur. But no, I can go away and tweak those.
Thank you.
What would be great if the council could consider approving everything else with some tweaks. Because we are conscious that we need to get the meeting dates sorted for the rest of the year.
I'm happy to approve it if we can guarantee those tweaks will come back at the next full council.
I can go away and do the tweaks. Yeah, I can make it work.
Yeah.
In that case, are we all okay with taking the calendar with the tweaks being applied? Okay, so Jack, are you proposing?
Well, I thought Jenny was just proposing, but I'll second it. Yeah.
I think that sounds good to me. In that case, then, all in favour? That's everybody. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna have to go, Chair. Okay. But
Can we move on then to item 12, which is still update, I think, right?
Yeah, so to give you a bit of an update, I know this is an ongoing issue. Myself and the finance manager as well, the civil officer at Wiltshire Council. We are going back to look at our last 5 years in a process with Wiltshire Council regarding all of our SIL. So the finance manager is working on the SIL here. We're working with the officers at Wiltshire Council that we can actually fully have a bigger picture of all of our SIL, any SIL money of where it's been allocated from. We have got a really clear picture on all of the process, what's happened, where the money is robust. Firstly, as a priority is for Melksham East. And one of the questions is also regarding the SIL money at Dunch Lane is in that mix as well. We've also asked to go back and have copies of all of our SIL agreements again. On top of that, all of our Section 106 agreements as well, just so we can make sure that we are robust with our administration here and we've got everything that we require.
Okay. Anybody even questions, Andrew?
Is that going to incorporate any sort of deadline, time limits,
We haven't got.
particularly with this section 106?
Absolutely. I mean, the officer that we're working with has said that she is hoping to get everything that we need from our point of view by the end of February. And I have to say the Wiltshire Council officer has been fantastic and very supportive and forthcoming and understands the picture here of staffing that we've had and how there's not always a clear picture, and that's not anybody's fault, but we're trying to get there. So by the end of January, end of February is what she said she will come back to us on. We will then create a whole SIL document where all the SIL is recorded, where it's going to be done. I'm keeping Melksham without updated because that's really important where we are with them. But we are trying to unpick it that it can be done once and it can be done right.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay, so that's to update on that. And then moving on to item 13, CCTV updates.
So the update that I've got today was we'd had, one of the questions was about were the cameras that we've got in place at the moment, did we have permissions to do so? We have spoken to the Wiltshire Council officer again, very supportive, has come back to us to say the cameras that we currently have, they have gone through the necessary paperwork. He is waiting for additional testing certificates to go back, so they will be sent. From a Wiltshire Council's point of view, that bit is done. And we've got the paperwork for that on our system as well.
Any questions for Hayley on that? Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Hayley. Item 4.14, sorry, Cemeteries Task and Finish Group. Hopefully we'll have a chance to read this. So obviously this has come off the back of the meeting and motion without response.
Sorry, I'm slow.
I was kind of holding a cough and then it didn't.
It's obviously Cemeteries has,
hilarious.
obviously we've got Phil and Charlie in the room who both sit on the Cemeteries Task Group. I don't know if you two want to speak.
It's Phil's baby, please.
Well, I mean, we had a follow-up meeting, we were getting, where we were waiting for the report from the town council about the provision locally. We had the news teller. The report was not as comprehensive, I think, as it could have been. It would have been more helpful, if it was a bit more comprehensive. I think we were expecting more information, and there was quite a few cemeteries and so on in the local area that were missing from it. However, after quite a long discussion, we it was quite useful to have their input as guests, because they were able to inform us of some of the things that weren't on the report as well, and also flag up some of the issues around provision locally and perhaps what we could do. I mean, I think we got to a point in the end where essentially we decided that we were going to ask Wiltshire to ask them to basically to write letters to him saying that can you carry on run the existing cemetery. The Motion Without officer had some notes as well that we took from it, but I think we got some notes as well from the meeting. I don't know if what's come in on that, but in addition to that, we did agree that we would look at as a town council and try and find out what the rules were around burials and flooding, because it may be that some land became available through 106, or we could request it as part of the SIL from future developments to maybe offer up some land that could be used for burial provision. And maybe we could take on, look at potentially some kind of joint venture, maybe with Motion Without, where we look at see if there's a model that works, or we could deliver like a natural burial ground or something. But before we even consider going down that route, we wanted to be sure what planning rules were around it, because we know we've got a lot of issues with flooding in the area, and there was an issue where apparently where if the water level, the groundwater level comes up too high, if your water table's too high, you can't use it for burial purposes.
Bones floating towards the residents, basically.
Yeah. Well, there's also a risk, isn't there? You end up with water washing contaminants down into the sea and stuff, and I don't know, getting into the water system. It's quite technical, I'm sure, but I think it was agreed that our officers would go away and find out what the regulations were around that, and there might be some mapping service that gives an indication of what the water levels are in the area, because we should know that anyway from most of the patent applications on, so we get an assessment of that, but we need to know what the regulations are first.
So
that's kind of where we were with it, really.
But tonight it's for decision whether we wish to take a parallel step by writing to Wiltshire Council to request that the decision is reversed and that cemetery maintains new burials. So mirroring what Motion Without heard.
Yes.
That's for decision tonight.
And we can always ask. much like the was it the planning where we said we weren't very happy about a decision on parish stewards, but you know, at the end of the day, it's up to the council to make a decision they see most appropriate.
Okay, Adrian.
Hayley, have you ever shared the information that we received when we went around the Semmington crematorium with the?
No, I haven't, because I requested at the time. Do you remember me saying requested it from him?
Yeah.
And I haven't had that. I am happy to chase that again.
It could be
really helpful.
Potentially very helpful.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to say in an open public meeting.
But yeah, so essentially we asked, as a town, do we think it would be a good idea to, alongside or next or in parallel with Motion, just send a letter over to Wiltshire Council and say, look, you know, can you keep the cemetery open? Can you expand it? You've got land. It's not going to cost much for you to expand it. generate some revenue for a few years. Can you keep it running and give us time to give us a few more years of provision until we find something else?
I think it's perfectly acceptable.
Essentially what we're asking. Yeah.
What would you two as our members want to propose?
Yeah, I'm happy to propose that, Charlie. Yeah.
Okay, well,
It's which council
so Charlie,
keep the cemetery open for a few more years to give us a chance to
explore.
yeah find alternative provision.
All in favour? Thank you.
I'm abstaining. You didn't say you're against.
Oh, sorry.
You won't think you vote.
Sorry, I thought I'd look and see where your hand was. Apologies, Jenny. Items 15 then, so to note resolutions on SharePoint. Where are you with sending out the links?
So it is exciting, I have to say, and thank you to the officers that have spent hours putting it together. But you are going to have a system on SharePoint that you'll be able to see constantly updates on where we are with resolutions and what's been actioned. Can I please ask any councillors that does not have access to SharePoint or Teams to speak to officers, so we can ensure you're set up for when the link is sent out, you are working and ready to go. The link is available. We can get that sent out next week, so you've all got an update, and I think you'll be quite surprised how many of the resolutions have actually been achieved. But it'd be good for you to see that in black and white. So if councillors haven't got access, please speak to officers so we can support you to do that.
So that is just the resolutions, not revolutions.
Yes.
Resolutions, not the discussion around the resolutions at all.
No, it will be the resolution that you decided, the outcomes, the actions, whether it's ongoing, whether it's been achieved, whether it's not started.
Thank you. Anybody else?
It's music to my ears.
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes the minutes a bit
I
easier.
think we discussed this back in about 2020.
2017.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I think to give you the data, when I looked at it, we had a look. There was over 100 resolutions. I want to say something like 161, give or take. Don't quote me on that. But actually, there was about 29 that were ongoing. Some of them, most of those, actually were to do with some to do with play parks, some to do with finance. But I think you'll feel like you're in a healthy position that something has been actioned.
Lovely. Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Item 15.2, which is lovely to note, is the communication we had back from Sir David Attenborough's daughter. I thought it was really, really very nice. So, noted. 15.3, so town hall maintenance. Hey, do you want to give us an update? Because obviously this is a pretty big piece of work that's going on.
So the town hall needs some ongoing maintenance. There's some parts to it. So one is currently we have a problem with the heating in the building. We've had a heating engineer come out and had a look, and there are some elements here that have been broken. It looks like they've been broken for a while. Parts are in order, so the heating will be back up and running. Yeah, thank you for in your coats. Will be more comfortable for officers working here, visitors and councillors. So that piece of work's ongoing. We've also got some ongoing maintenance that we need to do to have some rooms here that are hireable and provide officers as well with spaces to work in that are effective. So there is some ongoing maintenance that starts on the 2nd that's going to take a couple of weeks to do. So the town council will still be functioning, but we will be functioning from the back exit of the town hall and through to the assembly hall, but we will make sure all of our customers and residents are informed of that as well. What else have we had fixed? We have had the alarm system fixed. We've had the internal scanners fixed so we can get into offices appropriately. So there are lots of pieces of work going on to make sure that this building is working effectively.
Jack.
This is not a priority, but can I ask, is one of those works to either clean or get rid of those disgusting curtains that are opposite me? No, because this is a room that we use to hire out, and you know, one of the things is the dust, and not to point out to those people that aren't here, but the dust and the colour is not great. Is that on the list?
Absolutely, it's on the list. it's on the list.
Yeah.
It's the best way.
I mean, effectively, I still think we should try because we don't know how echoey it will be or not be without them. Because there is a thing about when you check out curtains that potentially noise can echo more. Because obviously we don't actually need them because we've got shutters on the windows.
Well, we do because of the lights for the Christmas lights switch on, don't we?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, we need something to block.
I
Like-
quite like having them there, but
Yeah.
yeah, they're just minging.
Or you could,
Sorry, I'm not to bring up a discussion about
get
curtains.
rid of them and shutters, which provide the dark and provide the light and keep the wall thin. I would suggest shutters would be the way forward.
I mean, it's easier to maintain shutters. than
Yeah.
curtains.
It's just to add to the list.
Curtains, you're going to have to get a really long pole to actually get between the slats.
Yeah, so that's, so those curtains are on the list.
First actual decisions I made when I first got elected to this council, so that was 1990, okay? So they have been up there for 36 years.
Well, when they come down, we give you a little cutting of it.
You can have
So you've got.
No, you take.
So you got to be, but it's just because we hired the room.
I would definitely look at that as the next dress. I would definitely look at that when the next phase is done and the meeting room downstairs. All the woodwork that's broken is all being fixed because it's been neglected. So please bear with us for a couple of weeks, but we'd.
Blame Sarah Carty for that as well.
Thank you for the update. Anybody else?
Suggest to anybody who's listening.
God, yeah, please. Anything else to do with curtains or otherwise? Right, good, okie dokies. Moving on to 15.4 then, which is the area board review. We finish fourth.
I've done it.
Done it. Great, thank you for that. It's 15.5, the Melksham Health and Wellbeing meeting notes.
Yeah, it's just a question, really, general question. I don't. Councillors that are in the room, which councillors are we? Who is the chair of that group now? Who's the chair of the Health and Wellbeing group?
Health and Wellbeing.
John Hubbard was chaired the last meeting, whether he's actually chaired the group, I'm not sure.
County councillor called Richard.
He's not a county councillor, he's an officer.
He's an officer.
Richard's taken the reins as such, but as the lead sort of like councillor on there.
Yeah, because the area board. Sorry, so just so everyone knows, I was the chair of the Health and Wellbeing group when I was a Wiltshire councillor. So I know the group, and so I just wondered who was taking on that role in Mouse. It's because that role gets given down to the area board. But also, I never brought those meeting notes to council to publish on the full council agenda, because we send a council representative to that group, but there should be a council representative group, but we never have published those at this council before. So is that something that we're going to start doing going forward, or is that just an add-on that we added on today, or?
No, I didn't add it on today. I added it on when the agenda pack went out.
No, yeah, no, sorry, yeah, no.
But no, I just thought actually to just share knowledge, it would be interesting for councillors to have a bigger picture about some of the conversations that are happening.
I found it very interesting to read.
Yeah, I think it is interesting to put it on there, and I just never brought it to council to put on, or it was never even suggested to go on the agenda. So it was just.
We didn't have a town representative there.
Yeah.
Because obviously Melksham without their.
We should do. It was.
I didn't even know about it.
It's
volunteer here.
It is at an irritating time.
It's an irritating time, but I mean, it's.
You were there.
I went along really just sort of to observe and find out how it worked and what it did.
Yeah, I mean, I think we. Yeah, Gillian, it was right. It's definitely something that, if in future, Gillian, you think you can find, make time to go. I think with your expertise, it would be really helpful to do that.
Yeah. Jenny, you went, didn't you?
To one.
There was somebody that just won.
You go to that's part of the work capacity as well as a surgery.
Yes.
Thanks capacity on it as well. If Gillian doesn't have it.
Yeah, well, I think it doesn't stop both of you from going. So is it something just in future when this comes up, we can send this out to all councillors and then guys, Gillian and Jenny can, or whoever else can see if they have to go.
Yeah, we always send off.
Yeah, no, well, I just want to do one better because obviously we will have our meeting coming up soon. Will we? Yes. On governing outside bodies, etc., and who sits on what. I swear we did have, as I don't know how long ago it was, a town council representative, I think it was Colin Goodhind at the time, was a person from the town council on that list of outside bodies to attend. So if we can either add that to the list when it comes up later on in the year, or we can vote on it now to say that actually our representative will be Gillian or someone else, because it's great saying, oh, one of us can go if we can attend, but actually if we could say, no, that person is the representative from the town. I don't know if you attend, Hayley, or not, but whether we say that person is the town, our representative at that meeting.
Yeah, we always try, if we can, to send a officer
to
that meeting. You have probably got 2 more meetings before we start looking at your outside bodies. So
No, the next one's the 7th of May.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I do apologise. So actually, it would come after your meeting.
So that's what we just put on the-
Date's the annual meeting?
I think it's about 16th, wasn't it?
16th.
Right, so can we,
When it gets to it, then can we look at
make sure that the next one on the 7th of May is communicated out, so the Gillian,
Annual meeting's on the
somebody else
11th.
the opportunity.
Sorry, sir.
Oh, sorry?
The annual meeting's on the 11th. of May.
Oh, fine, okay, then. Oh, no, it's not. So we need to communicate to them on the 7th, and then at the annual meeting, then appoint representative.
Gillian could go on the 7th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, misunderstood that. Sorry.
We'll get you an invite sent across to him.
Right, moving on then to 15.6, which is another report, which is Age UK report.
Which is nice to see.
Yep, that's what we asked for, isn't it? And getting it, so that's great. So hopefully everybody's had a chance to have a good look through that, and a huge amount of work they do, incredible amount of work.
Sorry, can I just very, very quickly ask that on the Age UK? We say Melksham, that they're from there's parts from Melksham. What's the area of Melksham that comes under?
Both, because it's a joint venture between us and
Melksham without, but not, would that include sort of like the surrounding villages at all?
I don't know if they pay into the scheme.
Okay.
It's only Melksham and Melksham that pay into the scheme.
And I did have confirmation today that the AGP discounts have gone down so well. Thank for funding to continue to run them, which I think is lovely.
Unfortunately, council co-funded it, isn't it?
Did the area board still fund part
They
of it?
do fund some of it, so they might cover it, yeah, because it was at the last area board, so it could cover that.
It could, yeah. If the money's come from the area board or some of it as well, then it will have to cover the whole Melksham community area.
I just thought I would just double check.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Yep, okay. Item 15.7, so this is Sharonhold Fields. So we've had, I'd say fair play to Teresa, she has been up and down, and Dave has been there with her as well, because it has been quite, I think, challenging, particularly because the weather has just been so horrific in the work down there. And there's had to be some quite quick decisions made off the back of, I think, when, as you're putting stuff in, suddenly realising that something's not going to work. So hopefully you've already read her report regarding the pedestrian gates and what they've done on that. Does anybody have that?
I do. As mentioned earlier, my doggy gets walked there almost daily. Not by me, I should say. But I do walk her there regularly. It is a bog at the moment. I think it's been discussed, but can we really get some signs put up there? Because I know the Harris fencing is going to have to stay for a long time. And people don't mind as long as they know. It'd be really good if we can just get some signs put up what was going on. There's also some twigs and quite a lot of branches that are down there and have been there for a couple of weeks. I'm aware the reason they haven't gone yet is because it's too muddy for them to get a van onto there, which is perfectly reasonable. But if, again, I think we have to tell people, otherwise it just looks like we've sort of done a half-finished job. I still am worried about there not being a pedestrian gate.
Yeah, I met Teresa and Dave there actually accidentally, went over and had quite a long chat with them, and everything was as I would have expected. But I do believe that we are, both councils, and I did say it to both Teresa and to Dave, we are missing a massive trick by not informing the people who use it as to what's happening. It is a horrendous boggy mess. And Dave and Teresa were saying that that Harris fencing is going to have to stay up until May, basically, because it's been so badly damaged. not just by the contractors doing the work, there were other reasons for it as well. But if people know, people aren't going to worry about it. It's so easy to put up something, you know, which just explains. Otherwise, I said, in my email to Teresa and to Hayley, I said it just looks so it's a half-bodged job from the council. We've walked away from it. And that's not the case, and we need to inform. But the meeting that I sort of like I came in on was last Monday, and there was still no notices up when I went round yesterday, and the gate is locked, and I don't know why the gate is locked.
I noticed that.
Locked. Yeah, the gate is locked. It's in place, and now there could again be a very good reason. But as a resident of Melksham who wants to park my car there, I should know why I can't access it.
Maybe even a post on social, just so that everybody knows.
Both, yeah.
Do whatever.
Are you okay with? I mean, it is when you look at that picture.
Oh, it's terrible. It's awful. In fact, I refused to walk there today because it's too wet. It's a bit like walking an AstroTurf where the water spouts out.
Well, it's on.
Right, and then last couple of bits then, we've got committee minutes, so item 16, so this is to receive the minutes of the Economic Development Planning Committee meetings from the 16th of December and the 13th of January, Finance and Governance and Performance from the 3rd of November, and then Personnel from the 6th of October, 24th of November and the 1st of December. And the working groups and task and finish groups, so CCTV and Community Safety Work Group meeting from the 12th of January. And then the cemeteries group from the 23rd of September. Received. In that case, we are done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to point at the correct.
Happy